You listen to the Gary Owen Podcast. Hashtag Get Some. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. As always, you can listen to this on iTunes or go to YouTube. Just search youtube.com/GaryOwenCom. First off, let me start by thanking everybody that watched my comedy special, hashtag Doing What I Do on Showtime. I went on The Breakfast Club and I said, this is the greatest comedy special of all time. The thing about comedy is there's no such thing as the greatest comedy special of all time because comedy is subjective. One person might like this style of comedy. One person might like this style. So there's no such thing as the greatest comedy special of all time. It's just, do you like it or do you not? But I took a page out of like Colby Covington, the WWE, just cocky athletes that I see out there, and Floyd Mayweather. And I was like, I'm just going to go real cocky and sell this and not back down and say it's the greatest comedy special of all time. And it was so timely because Dave Chappelle's just came out the week before. So automatically, people started comparing it to Dave Chappelle's. Fucking brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to get in a minute, but let me go over my schedule real quick. This weekend, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, September 13th at the Celebrity Theater with Lil Duval. It's September 13th. And then next week, September 20th to the 22nd, I'm in Chicago, Illinois at the Improv in Schaumburg. A couple shows are already sold out, so you might want to get your tickets ASAP. We'll usually, we'll add a couple shows by the time the weekend gets here, but I would get your tickets early. And then September 28th, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama at the Performing Arts Center. And October 4th, I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina at the Crown Theater. And October 5th, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Miller High Life Arena. So that's where I got the next couple weeks. Then I'll be off the week after that because my sister's getting married. But getting back to my special, and I'm not just saying this because I hear comics say all the time they feel like this is their best work to date. This is their best special. And that's what I felt. That's what I firmly believe about this comedy special. Up to this point, I would say my best special as far as hour was True Story that came out in 2012. This was first. True Story is now second. Cause it was just, I've watched my specials in the past, and when I watch them, I feel like I rush sometimes in the beginning. Like I just want to get the audience on my side and I want to get them laughing. And so I feel like I rush a little bit. This one was completely paced. I was completely relaxed. And I was like, whoa, this was a really good special. And I remember talking to Keenan Ivory Wayans a couple months ago. We had a meeting about something that didn't come through. But as I was sitting in the room with him, he had said, like, God, you've been doing stand-up over 20 years now. You're in your 40s. He goes, you're in your Jedi years. And it got me thinking, I thought, that is true. I think the best comedians, like their best comedy, is when they're in their 40s, outside of Eddie Murphy, because he's an anomaly. For him to have Raw and Delirious in his early 20s just is it's something unreal, honestly. Something we probably won't see again. Well, maybe, but it's going to be some kind of force of nature we don't see coming out of left field. But I think most comics in their 40s is when you're getting their best work because they're old enough that they're still in touch with pop culture, which would mean the millennials, but they're young enough that they're not out of touch. And I feel like in your 40s, you've lived enough of a life that you kind of get what life's all about. Like in your 20s, you don't really get what life's about. You think you're invincible and you have, you do things that probably you definitely wouldn't do later on in life. Like you make some dumb decisions in your 20s. And then your 30s, you start to figure it out. But when you get in your 40s, you kind of got it together. You kind of know what life's about. You've had enough life experiences. If you're pulling from your family life, you got plenty of material from your kids and your wife, or maybe you're on your second or third wife. I don't know. But your 40s, you kind of got life figured out. And you also realize you're not invincible. So you start dealing with your own mortality. So I just think 40s is that those years for comics that start in their 20s and stuff that you should be getting your best work in your 40s. And that's what I felt this special was. I felt like, God, I was right in the pocket. I've said it, but there's nothing I would change about that special. I mean, from the socks, from the underwear, from the outfit, from the color of the stage, from the city we chose, San Antonio, to the theater we chose. And I got to focus on my jokes. And here's the brilliance of my special, if I must brag on myself. So I go on every media outlet that I got invited to go on, whether it be the AOL Build series or the Breakfast Club or CBS or ABC, NBC. Any interview I did, I said, this is the greatest comedy special of all time. And the special is called #DoinWhatIDo. So when you see my special, I tell you that whenever you see a post and I say #DoinWhatIDo, I'm lying. That is code for I am lying. So in essence, my comedy special was called I'm Lying. So every interview I do, whatever I say, and any Instagram post I make where I use the #DoinWhatIDo, in essence, I say I'm lying. So when I go to the Breakfast Club and I say I have the greatest comedy special of all time, what's it called? #DoinWhatIDo, AKA I'm lying. Now, in my heart of hearts, I do think it's the greatest comedy special of all time. #DoinWhatIDo. Am I lying or am I not? I don't know. But what it did when I went on all those media outlets and didn't back down from it, it got people to watch it. And some people watched it not to like it. Some people watched it just to make an Instagram post saying, man, that shit wasn't even close to being the funniest of all time. But you watched it. So it's still a win for me. Because when Showtime gets the numbers, the numbers don't say liked it or didn't like it. It just says you watched it. So I just like, how can I get people to watch it? And it was time, one thing I will say about me and Charlamagne, we got chemistry when we do those Breakfast Club interviews because I went on there and I said, I'm not lying. It's the greatest comedy special of all time. And he goes, whoa, that's saying a lot. Dave Chappelle just dropped a special one. And then I did the Soulja Boy reenactment. I was like, Chappelle! I got up, ran around, made fun of him being a nutty professor. And then I never backed off from saying, it's the greatest comedy special of all time. And after seeing it, I swear every reaction was good. There were people that were sending me like tweets and Instagrams and Facebook saying they watched it not to like it, but they ended up liking it. And there's people that was like, I watched it not to like it, but I liked it, but it wasn't the best of all time. I'm okay with that. That's a compliment in itself. Now, what I say is the only people that I saw that tagged me or wanted to say something about it that said they didn't like it was only two types of people. And it wasn't a lot. Don't get it twisted. It was either a white guy. I didn't see one bad report from a white woman. White guys would just say, I can't stand this wannabe or da-da-da-da-da. So it's right there. You're not listening to the jokes. You're just stuck on. Honestly, whenever white guys say I'm a wannabe or whatever, I feel like you're upset because I can talk about black people and I'm accepted by black people and you're not. And that bothers you. That's how I always look at it when they say that. And the only other bad comments I got was it would be from black guys or black girls. Not a lot of black girls. Black women were pretty good, 90%. But some black guys, as soon as they bring race into it, I know you didn't really watch it or you weren't really listening to the jokes. You just focus on the white guy and the black shit. It would be like black guys saying, here we go again. I got a black wife. I got mixed kids, blah, blah, blah. Black, black, black. And this special didn't get in depth with my family like that. It was more like pop culture, current events. I did get into a bit about black Twitter, which really happened to me. So I'm just going off my own life experiences. So yeah, if you didn't see it yet, just go to Showtime on demand. You can watch it whenever you want or download the Showtime app, get it whenever you want. And over the next couple months, every 1 or 2 weeks, I'm going to post various clips of the special just so it's crazy how you think a lot of people's watching it and then you realize there's that many people that don't because there's a lot of people that don't have Showtime. And so I'm going to post clips here and there. over the next couple months of the special, but I'm ecstatic by it. If there was going to put somebody's going to put a time capsule together and say, how do you want to be remembered, Gary Owen? I was like, put in this comedy special, put in Doing What I Do. Cause that's how good I feel it is. If you're going to say, what's Gary Owen all about? Like, just put in Doing What I Do and let people say that's what Gary Owen was about. And, it's just so good. I loved it so much. I really did. Outside of that, I guess the big news, it was bothering me because my special's coming out and I'm trying to get this social media firestorm going, getting everybody to talk about my special and, hopefully people would repost about it and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Antonio Brown just will not stay out of the fucking social media and gets released from the Raiders and orchestrated it all. I think he did. But I'm like, dude, will you stop? Will you stop taking all the damn attention? I'm trying to get some attention to my special. But that was the big at a sports weekend. It was all about Antonio Brown. And I listened to Pat McAfee on an interview. He used to be a punter with Indianapolis Colts. And he said it before anybody said it. And then he said it like a joke, and it all made sense. He goes, he said, I think, and he was kidding when he said it, but there was a little truth to it. He goes, I think Antonio Brown got to Oakland, started working out with David Carr, and realized, oh my God, David Carr's not as good as Ben Roethlisberger. This ball ain't coming out like I thought. I'm hitting my brakes, and he ain't hit me like I think he should. He said, then he was like, how can I get out? Then he got to the team, and he's like, oh, this team ain't got a lot of talent on it. Oh shit. I don't want to be losing all year. So then he was like, okay, what can I do? I know what I'll do. I'm going to do a cryo chamber and frostbite my feet. Raiders is like, fuck it, we'll work with you. What else? Oh, shit. Okay. How about my helmet? Yeah, I'm not unhappy with my helmet. We'll still work with you, man. Go ahead and get your helmet stuff worked out. Jesus Christ. I'm going to file grievance with the NFL. They ain't got my helmet right. We'll still work with you. I'm going to get in an argument with the GM and punt a ball and tell them, basically threaten them. We're still willing to work with you. I know this shit's working. Okay, let me hire some social media influencers and figure out how I can record a phone call between me and the coach. And let me talk about how I'm misunderstood and I just want to be free. I can't stand it here. And finally, the Raiders released them. And I don't think anybody was surprised that the New England Patriots picked them up. And come to find out, a close second was the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not lying. I was texting my dad. As soon as he got released, Antonio Brown got released, my dad goes, you think he'll get signed? I said, yeah. He's only getting signed by the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks, the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Green Bay Packers. Those 4 teams were the only 4 teams he was going to go to. Why? They all have franchise quarterbacks. Like you got Aaron Rodgers, proven commodity. Know he's going to get the ball to you. Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winner, has carried a team when they didn't have enough talent, and Russell Wilson was able to bring them up. Great quarterback. Been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Brady's the greatest of all time. And Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't won a Super Bowl, but I think everyone agrees right now, you would take him over anybody if you're going to build a franchise around a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. Brady's up there in age. And even Russell's, he's going on year 7, I think. But Mahomes is the next one I think we're all waiting on. And as soon as he signed with New England, I said, told you. I guarantee you his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, was only calling those 4 teams. There was no way he was going to Miami or the Jets or Tampa Bay or Detroit or Arizona. There was just no way. He was going to go where one of the best quarterbacks was going to be. And he goes to New England. I'm like, you got to be shitting me, man. And I'll be honest with you, man, New England's got a lot of good guys on the team, but I'm rooting against them just for that reason. I'm rooting against them just like a lot of people root against the Warriors when they got Durant. A lot of people rooting against the Heat when they got LeBron and Chris Bosh. It's like I wasn't in that instances. I wasn't, but this one, I'm straight rooting against the Patriots just because they're good. That's the only reason I'm rooting against them. Nothing personal. And I think if I'm being honest, the only team I could really see beating them in the playoffs is the Chiefs. And no other reason than Patrick Mahomes. If he goes out, Chiefs don't stand a snowball's chance in hell to beat the Patriots. But if he stays healthy and he's in it, they get shot. Now, obviously, you can have perfect storms where the universe lines up just that day and you beat the Patriots in the playoffs. But you got to be clicking on all cylinders and make no mistakes to beat that team. It's going to be interesting how Antonio Brown works out in New England, because everything New England's about, Antonio Brown isn't. They're about team. He's about himself. They're like, stay off social media, no phones. He's got his phone everywhere. So we're going to see what happens. And just the fact that all the stuff with the Raiders played out in front of us, right? I just can't imagine what happened in Pittsburgh behind closed doors, like at practice or going to games and stuff. I just can't imagine if that short of time with the Raiders played out like it did. I can't imagine what went on in Pittsburgh. I know a couple stories, but I'm not at liberty to tell them because I don't know if they're true. I'm getting them secondhand, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But I've heard some stories about Pittsburgh. I was like, nah, and there's like, yep. I was like, oh shit. So, but outside of Cincinnati, you know what's on my mind, Cincinnati Bengals. So outside of Antonio Brown drama, it's just a great feeling that NFL football's back. And I went to Tacoma last week, and then I go to the Seattle. Seattle got me tickets. You know, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even try to reach out to the Bengals for tickets. Nobody in the front office. I reached out to my buddy Cliff Averill, who used to play for the Seahawks. And then I had somebody from the Seahawks front office who I've known for a few years reach out to me. They find out I'm in Seattle. They invite me to the game. Man, the Seahawks, they put me in a suite, have my name played on the suite, field passes. They just took such good care of me. I'm like, they took such good care of me. It was hard to root against them. I mean, I still did, but it was hard. I had a dinner bet with Cliff Averill, too. And after dinner, we went to the Metropolitan Grill. If you've never been to Seattle, that's some good-ass food. And I recommend the lobster. I had to pay for it, which sucked. But, man, that food was good. But the Seahawks they took such good care of me. And every time a team does that, every time an NFL team, like, invites me out and asks me to do, whatever with the team. I've roasted quite a few NFL teams, or I've gotten tickets from other teams. It always reinforces the fact that when the Bengals front office, when they tell me they don't have tickets or it's just not possible, I'm like, what? I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. It's always a sore subject. I feel like Ike and Tina Turner. Like, the Bengals treat me like Tina and they're Ike, because I can't help but root for them. And I know it has nothing to do with the players. Nothing to do with the players. And I'm so excited with this new coaching regime. I mean, we completely outplayed the Seahawks, with the exception of some stupid mistakes. The fumble by Erickson, Drake Kirkpatrick with the stupid personal foul penalty. I mean, the second guy always gets caught. But he's a vet. He should know better than to push back. And then Andy with the freak interception in the middle of the rain. That was just, what are you going to do with that? And then everyone in Cincinnati are harping on that last call where they said Andy fumbled it, which clearly it was an incomplete pass. In hindsight, I don't think the Bengals are going to win anyways. They were only going to have like a couple seconds left, and they were going to have to get like 30, 40 yards and then get out of bounds to have a shot at a field goal. And our field goal kicker didn't look that amazing that day. I mean, he missed a 45-yarder that, in essence, I don't know if it would have won the game because the whole game would have changed. The dynamics of the game changes if he makes it, but I don't know. Bullock's all right to me. It ain't like we got some great kicker that I have such super faith in. I think he's just okay. So I don't think that was the reason we won or lost the game. And when I say we, just know I'm talking about the Bengals. But it did give me some hope, man. I've never been so optimistic after a loss in my life. Like John Ross, we know what we're getting with John Ross. He's gonna drop some. He did it in college. I'm sure he did it in high school. He's done it here in preseason and stuff. It's gonna happen with him. But the risk versus the reward, we saw the reward. When I thought Tyler Boyd was gonna be the number one option. And then when they start going to John Ross, I went, oh, shit. They're keeping Boyd the same slot number 2 option. They're making Ross the A.J. Green of this offense until A.J. gets back. But, I mean, he's so goddamn fast, man. And that one catch to put him up 17-14 right for the half, I go, oh, shit. The defense was peeling back. And outside of a couple big plays by the Seahawks, the defense was dominant. So outside of stupid mistakes and playing a great quarterback, I'm just ecstatic with the direction the team's going. It just makes you wonder, the way you saw Andy chucking that ball and he had such command of the offense. You're like, and then when I watched the Rams, like Jared Goff looked good when I watched the highlights of the Rams versus Panthers game. But, Zach Taylor was a quarterback's coach of the Rams. And he comes over here, he's got Andy throwing for a career high in Seattle, where it's not easy to play, in the rain for half the game, without his number 1 receiver, without his number 1 left tackle, and without the number 1 draft pick that was supposed to be on the line. So I'm like, I mean, the future looks good. I love the way the defense was playing. We don't have the greatest linebackers, the Bengals, but they were able to mask their deficiencies by just peeling back and getting after the fucking quarterback, man. Because our front 5 is amazing with Dunlop and Geno and Hubbard. So I'm just like, man, I'm excited about this weekend in San Francisco, but you can't ever tell. Week to week, look at the Browns. Everybody thought the Browns was going to be gangbusters, and they got their asses whooped. God damn. I almost felt bad for being Cleveland fans because they went down the field and scored and then nothing else after it. So I know Cincinnati's got to be like on cloud 9 right now. I'm like, man, from where we were last year to this year, I was like, I don't know. And Zach Taylor looked like he's got to breathe a new life into that offense. Because I have never been that excited during a game. We were just winging up, and we couldn't even run the ball. And then Mixon went out. So look at really our offense. We don't have our number 1 wide receiver. Didn't have our number 1 tailback for half the game. Didn't have our starting left tackle. So those are 3 pieces that are going to be back before the season's out. And I was talking to Cliff Averill after the game, and he said, the first month, you can't really tell who's who. It's when you get into October is when you start to figure out who really are the good teams are. Because, everybody's got new personnel trying to figure it out, and you don't really know for the preseason until you start getting in them games and you find out who's clicking, who's not. First month is kind of like a toss-up. Teams that can be 3-1 or teams can be 1-3, but I think you see more often than not, it's those teams winning in October that are usually the ones to look out for towards the end of the season. Because last year, look at the Bengals. They were 4-1 and then went to shit as soon as the season was over, before the season was over. And then I remember the Chargers seem to always start slow, but then they just start clicking and then they come on. Remember like 8-9 years ago, the Patriots lost like week 1 or week 2 to the Chiefs. They got spanked. And everyone's like, that's it. Tom Brady got old. He's in his mid-30s, and they're on their way down. And then the Patriots had to play the Bengals the next week, and all Bill Belichick, we're getting ready for the Bengals. And the Bengals were coming off a win, and I was like, I remember thinking, this ain't good. I've seen this movie. It ends the same every time. And sure enough, Bengals go to New England and got smoked. And I don't know if the Patriots were 0-2 or 1-1 or what, but everyone was saying the Patriots are done. And Bengals looked good week 1. So you can't ever tell. You can't ever tell. And I tell you what, outside of Cincinnati losing, which I'm not saying I'm happy, but, I'm optimistic. It was so cool to see the Raiders win on Monday night against the Broncos, because after everything they went with Antonio, I think everybody thought they were going to suck. And then they put it together, and I would say they dominated the Broncos. It wasn't even close. That was a complete domination. So that, I just love seeing it after everything they went through with Antonio Brown. It's something about them names Antonio. Because, okay, you got Antonio Brown who did what he did to the Raiders. And I don't know if people remember like 10 years ago when Terrell Owens came to the Bengals. I think the biggest, just stealing money was Antonio Bryant. I don't know if you guys remember Antonio Bryant. He played with the Cowboys, and then he played with the Browns. But it was down to him and Terrell Owens who the Bengals are going to sign. And the Bengals went with Antonio Bryant because I think he was a little younger and stuff. And he got like an $8 million guaranteed contract. So he signed. He got $8 million. I don't think he practiced. He has something wrong with his, I don't know, his shoulder or his toe or something. He never played. One down for the Bengals. And they finally let him go because he was hurt. And I was like, man. I grant you don't know when you're going to get hurt or what's going to happen, but he took the physical, he passed it, and then when he started like training camp, he never got in. He didn't practice one play, didn't get in one game, and got $8 million off the Bengals. And his name was Antonio. I think if I ever have another son, I'm going to name him Antonio, and I'm going to try to get him to play football because I'm thinking he's going to make his money, and he probably doesn't have to play that much. I don't know why people keep saying Antonio Brown won. I'm like, he had $30 million guaranteed, could have made $50 million, and he signed for 15 with $9 million guaranteed or 10. I'm like, so in essence, he lost over $20 million guaranteed money by signing with the Patriots. So I'm like, I don't know how they can say he won. Outside of he's probably going to win more ball games with the Patriots, but I think anybody outside of New England is not rooting for New England. I don't care what nobody says. Just because they're so stacked. And they're good. That's why you root against them. I don't take all the personal stuff into it. Oh, that guy's a dick, or that guy's an asshole, that guy's a nice guy. I've met plenty of pro athletes, and I've seen the press talk about some athletes like they're the best human being in the world, and then when you meet them, they're kind of an asshole. And then I've seen the press portray some people like they're assholes, and then you meet them, you're like, yeah, that's the coolest dude ever. Because I've seen some of the coolest NFL athletes I've ever met. Deion Sanders, Randy Moss, and if you look at how they were portrayed in the media where they were playing, you wouldn't think that. But you get around them, coolest. Deion's just the coolest motherfucker you ever met. And Randy's just literally just a country dude from West Virginia that just happens to be really good at football. But I mean, just cool as anything, laid back. I mean, but in the way the media portrayed them, and I bought in when they were playing. I was like, assholes. Farthest thing from the truth when you're around them. And there's been guys that when I met him, I was like, oh, he's nothing like I thought. He's kind of not. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but there was a couple. I was like, I thought he was cool, and he's not that cool. But yeah, I don't. Just God, it's so good to have football back. And then I went to my high school game on Friday. So I was supposed to be on the Bahamas, and obviously that didn't happen because of Dorian. We're rescheduling the Bahamas date to December. I think we're going with December 14th. That's when I'm going to be back in the Bahamas at the Baha Mar Resort. But I had a day off last week. I get done with doing all my press in New York to promote my comedy special. And then I called my wife and I said, I can either fly into Seattle on Friday night, and I got nothing to do. My shows aren't until Saturday night. I said, I'm going to go from New York to Cincinnati on Friday, and then from Cincinnati to Seattle on Saturday. And I said, go ahead. And so I go to Cincy, and I went to my old high school, Talawanda High School in Oxford, Ohio. I went to their football game. And we have notoriously been terrible. I mean, my high school does not have a tradition of being a good football high school. But I've been hearing things about this team that we got, and it's a pretty good team. We are 2-0. My high school is 2-0. And this week, if they go 3-0, it'll be the first time this century. So it'll be the first time in over 20 years that they've been 3-0 if they win this week. And they're heavily favored. They're playing against a team called Eaton, who's not very good. So I go to the game, and it's funny. They got this new coach. His name is Larry Cox. And he is a poster boy for high school football 101. He talks like a coach. Hey, man, yeah, he'll sell you on anything. Hey, man, these pulled pork sandwiches are really good, man. Have one. And he's a salesman, man. And all my high school does is run the ball. Here's the funny thing about them. They got they run like almost a wishbone, right? And let me see, I counted. They got 3 black guys on the team. 2 of them are running backs. And they got the running backs got like classic black names: Terrell, Willis, and then Dontrell. Terrell, they're not related. Terrell, let me just make sure I can get their names right. Give them a little shine. Tell on the football. But I'll tell you something interesting about them, about these kids. Roster. Okay, it is. So yeah, we got this guy Terrell Willis, who 6'2", 220, way bigger than that. And then we got this guy DeAndre. I can't pronounce his last name. Botas Revele. Now Terrell is the guy listed as 6'2", 220. I think he's way bigger than that. He's built like a NFL linebacker. He's huge. And then DeAndre is he's a tiny guy, not very big. But I think it's funny. There's like 3 black guys on the team and 2 of them are running backs. And they like split carries. And I will say the cool thing about my high school team is they got a new coach. His name's Larry Cox, and he is the poster child for a high school coach. I mean, he talks like one. He'll say anything. Like after the game, he was telling me how good these pulled chicken sandwiches were. He goes, "Hey, buddy, those chicken sandwiches are good now. Real good. I mean, go ahead and get one." I was like, God damn, this dude really has got me wanting to eat a pulled chicken sandwich. But my high school, they don't do nothing but run the ball. Nothing but run the ball. And it's Terrell, then it's DeAndre, Terrell Rondre. And the cool thing about it is DeAndre, I come to find out from the coach, he was adopted by these 2 guys, two gay guys. They're together, and I don't know if they just adopted DeAndre or they adopted his whole family. I don't know if he has brothers and sisters, but they adopted him. So he's being raised by 2 guys living together. And I think that's the beauty of high school football, because, and this is nothing against basketball or baseball or wrestling or any golf or anything, but something about high school football and just the dynamics of it, of summertime, you got to train and work out together in the heat, and then you're hitting each other. Like you have to be violent against your teammate. And it's just something about, it's almost like you ever see like 2 guys get in a fight and then they're best friends a week later in the neighborhood when you're growing up. It's something about as men, young men and guys that, I don't know, it just galvanizes you together. And my high school is it's weird because you don't think it's a broke high school. You don't think it's like a poverty-stricken high school, but you got like, it sits right off a college campus, Miami of Ohio. And you have a lot of parents that are employed by Miami University. So you have professors' kids going to my high school. But then you also have 2 or 3 trailer parks. You have a couple Section 8 apartment buildings. You have a boys' home. And like, as I'm sitting there after the game and I'm sitting in the coach's office and the coaches are all high-fiving and celebrating and being 2-0, first time they've done it in years. And a kid walked in and the coach proceeded to tell me, like, man, this kid, he's had a rough go of it so far in his life. And, he's just not living, it's just his living conditions aren't the best. And one of the coaches was telling him, like, I'm going to pick you up tomorrow because there's a JV game Saturday morning. And just the fact that what I love about high school football is the really good coaches, they never look at the kids. Of course, you favor the superstars. If you get a stud athlete, of course you favor him. But I think more often than not, coaches, and I don't mean just the head coach, I mean the assistant coaches also. I think you get this Papa Bear mentality because these are your Cubs, these football players, and you want to see them do well, not just in football, but in life. And just see one of these coaches tell the kid, hey, I'm picking you up tomorrow. Okay, we got to pick you up for the game. I'm coming to get you, so I'm going to wake you up if you ain't up. So clearly that kid does not have the structure within his life that he can get a ride to go to the JV football game tomorrow. And it's JV football, which really not a lot of people give a shit about. Go to any JV football game. It's not crowded. It's just kids playing football. Unless you're a parent or a grandparent, those stands are not packed. Nobody's getting up at 6, 7 in the morning to go to a JV football game unless you have a relative playing. But seeing these coaches, it was such a little thing, but it's something that I sit back and notice because I was that kid that needed a ride to the JV football game. And to see one of the coaches just tell the kid, I'm going to wake you up. And the way he made that kid feel was it was important for him to get up and be at that JV football game. And to think that you got all these kids from all these different backgrounds. I'm just going off my high school. You got a black kid adopted by 2 gay guys. You got, this kid that he can't get to and from practice without the coaches. And then you got kids that are probably doing decent in life from a two-parent home, and the parents are working and doing okay, but something about going through those summertime practices and winning together and losing together, whether you play one play or 100 plays, I mean, you feel like you're a part of a team, and I think that helps those kids out. So just seeing that at that high school game, I was like, it was just something cool to see. And then when the coach was telling me the backstories of a lot of the kids, I mean, not all of them have rough childhoods, I say. I mean, some of them were doing well, and he was saying, whose kid that is? That's so-and-so's kid. He's the dentist in town, and that's so-and-so's kid. He's the doctor in town. So it's not all that, but it's just something about that high school football more than any other sport that I love it, and how people can try to say it's not good for kids because of the risk of injury and CTE and all that. Like, I get all that, but there's not a lot of people walking around with CTE that played high school football and just stopped playing after high school. Because let's be honest, 90% of the kids after high school, they're not playing any more football at all. So I love high school. There's nothing like Friday Night Lights. There's nothing like it. Coolest part about my high school, though, is I go to the game and I'm walking the sidelines and my high school started chanting Gary Owen. It was like, Gary Owen, Gary Owen. And then the other high school started chanting something, and they started chanting, we got Gary. We got Gary. Damn right they do. And that's I follow every Friday night, whether I'm lucky to make 1, maybe 2 games a year, but I get on Twitter, I get on Huddle, all that stuff, and I follow the games as they're going. I keep track of my high school every year. I love high school football in my high school. And so to Coach Cox and the whole team, man, it was awesome to see you guys play this week, and hope you guys go 3-0 and just keep it going. Cause as we know, my high school does not have the high school tradition, so to speak, of being a powerhouse. And so, yeah, so it's been a great week. My special came out. The response has been amazing. If you haven't seen it, go to Showtime on demand or get the Showtime app. You can watch it. And then this week I'm in Phoenix at the Celebrity Theater with Lil Duval. And then next week, September 20th to 22nd, I'm in Chicago at the Schaumburg Improv. And then the week after that, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, September 28th at the Performing Arts Center. And pretty soon, within the next month, I'm going to take you guys out to the backyard, because I told you when we first got this house that it looked like Iraq back there. Well, we didn't want to rush our backyard, so we finally got everything we wanted, and they put the pool in now and the pergola and the sitting area. So just go to my now that I'm home for a while, just go to my Instagram story, my Snapchat. They're both at Gary Owen Comedy. And I'm going to just show you the backyard as it goes every time I'm home. It's a little more. They're putting the tile in the pool right now. I'm so fucking excited. And, now next week I'm going to get into, I was gone for a month. A lot of my shows were pre-taped because I was doing that movie, Welcome to Sudden Death with Michael Jai White. So I'm going to tell you how my month in Winnipeg was next week on the podcast. And hopefully when I come back next week, the Bengals will be 1-1 and my high school will be 3-0. And we'll still be getting good reviews on my comedy show. Doing what I do. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. If you want to listen to my podcast, just go to iTunes, search Gary Owen, #GetSome.